Today, the 13th of September 2020. This now a host and presenter of the Then and Now platform, Prince Emil Kroma. They come to una live. So I bring greetings. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Today's topic is kind of special and that's something I don't work on for quite a while. I don't work on this for quite a while, and I'm asking if we can do the usual ritual, if we can please share this video, this broadcast, so that other people then will be part of them. Because one vow that we made here on the Then and Now is for provide information where hopefully go get to the people, and on that basis the people then can make choices which is based on something we informed, or they can check them for themselves. So please, family, even the frenemies, friends and foes, let we share this and let we get other people on board. When I don't see the topic already, we'll be not advertise them for quite a while. It's called state capture and the redefinition of corruption. Okay, so we want to do a little bit of talking on the issue here tonight, which is waiting at state capture. We want to define state capture, talk a little bit about states, then we they under state capture after we don't define them. Which countries then potentially where they under state capture? What does state capture generally mean? This now we actually want to talk about tonight. And in the bigger picture, looming large into all of this, obviously, is the country Sierra Leone. Where I go gradually come together towards the end for show how the country, they under state capture. But we want to take you on a ride, on a journey, both in the then and in the now. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. And like I say again at the big do una let we share this broadcast. As I play the song once more, not in its entirety, just part of them, okay? It's called Hypocrites by the legend Jimmy Cliff. I own no copyright to this song that I have just played, that probably I might play again at some point, specifically at the end of the show. This is a song by the legend. We don't get anything, we don't derive anything other than entertainment to the general public, which I'm sure the owner of the song will love. There's no monetary value, it's only for educational reasons. So I don't own, or the Then and Now platform does not own any copyright song. This is a disclaimer. Thank you very much. So Fambule Muna, welcome. So as usual, yeah, Poppy Arun, I'm so happy for seeing you. Thank you for distributing the flyer. Bankole Duati, welcome. Yeah, man. I'm good. Thank you very much. I think we need to get down to the thing now because this might be an hour. And if I'm able to round them up, maybe a 30 minutes. But I believe I want to do this program between 1 hour and 1 hour 15 minutes. So let's get on with it. It's a very special topic for a very special time at a critical juncture in the landscape or political landscape now in country. So as a state capture, I first of all want to ask the question what it is. What is state capture? But just before I go there, I want to let Fambule understand say it's a new kind of phenomenon. Nothing will be exist, but it not be known as state capture. But some 20 years ago, I want to believe around the year 2000, the World Bank commissioned a research for look into this particular thing, some phenomena, will later on come to be known as state capture. When they commissioned this, okay, now for let people and come for understand or let them derive something from the research way that they do, for let we understand the various and different kinds of corruptions, because you know corruption come in different forms. We need for understand that, and that different forms where it come in, when we not even understand them, it become a disadvantage to the wider society. Because when we understand, of course you need for understand something. You diagnose a symptom, and then you're able to find a treatment because you understand what that particular symptom is. I know say I get some funny cap and hat, what I decide bring for use for just play up in between the program here tonight. But it's a very serious program. So when this commission by the World Bank was commissioned to do this research for find out waiting at the various forms of corruption, then go on for find out that corruption, now very, very, of course, they may not say a bad thing, but you are stress and double up the very, very bad thing. Very bad thing. Because corruption, like I say, come in different formats. Then find out, say, that particular countries which are susceptible to corruption are countries them where they in transition. So when I go see gradually outside the country Sierra Leone fit. Some 20 some more years ago, we fought a civil war. Luckily, it wasn't a tribal war, a civil war. That civil war day, from the ashes of the civil war, after it done, we decide to gather ourselves up and do a new formation so that we never do that same thing what we do again, because we should have learned a lesson from there and then forge a path forward. We decide for embrace democracy, and therefore all the democratic principles or pillars, as my friend go call them, the democratic pillars. Part of this democratic process is one of accountability and transparency. And in a situation where you find corruption, it's definitely difficult for let a country grow, for let a country mature, for letting citizens then prosper. It is really difficult. And people like we, when I say people like we, they talk about a countrywide, which are developing countries which depend heavily on foreign donors, we definitely need for abide by some protocols them. And one of them is this particular thing we they call corruption. So for let somebody give you the money, then get for understand, say, you are okay. You're clean. You not get problems. Because if they give me money, I also get for understand why are they give you me money. You forget credibility. You forget upright. You forget integrity. Now the community, now the society, wider community. So on this basis, the World Bank commissioned this project for let them understand the various forms of corruption, so that when you don't do the study, you don't understand them, you go able for handle them. So like I've been say, family, they found out that corruption has different causes and consequences and cost. Imagine this, and this now the underlying factor, because these are the things that you need for understand. It's not like you get some kind of disease. Your doctor equally get for diagnose the symptoms of that disease, try for understand what the disease can do, what are the advantage. Of course, diseases don't have advantages, I believe. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to stray into that. Now, example I be one make, because there be one know the causes and consequences and cost of corruption. Corruption does have consequences, causes, and cost. In other words, waiting the cause them. When we don't find out waiting the cause them, waiting are the consequences. When we don't find out the consequences, we find out waiting are the cause to the society. So on this basis, we can understand, say, corruption na bad thing, and together we need for fight them. We also can say that countries then where they in transition, such as ours, as have been developed just now, they're susceptible to corruption. Because the pillars of democracy are not strong. The resolve is not strong. They are not strong at all. So therefore, people or the community become susceptible to this corruption. Fambulem, I want for let we bear in mind that for understanding different forms of corruption, we also get for understand the varieties of corruption, such as bribery. Because sometimes we not can boil down to the nitty-gritty of the thing. We just get this one general word, corruption. So we need to understand, say, bribery involved, extortion involved, cronyism, which I believe is defined as the appointment of padidem, friends and associates, to positions of authority. I'll look them up shortly before they come in the studio. So cronyism, which is critical to this conversation here tonight. Very, very critical, because we will get to understand the nature or configuration of the government in Sierra Leone, both in the then and the now, and why people they serve in some capacity, them, how those appointments were made, and especially most recently. Of course, we do a contrast between the then and the now, but the emphasis will be placed on the now because it's a kind of transition process. So, like I've been saying, corruption comes in different forms. You get bribery, you get extortion, and you get cronyism, for goodness sake. And I say cronyism, now when you appoint you party them, you associate them to positions of trust, to position outside and get authority without proper regard to the qualifications of them people and they. So you don't see the damage where this can cause? Because Mr. X na me friend, so therefore I go on for appoint me friend, even though you know get the relevant qualification, then I put on a position where he cannot take that position they forward. I want to say welcome to a very special brother and friend, Mr. Roland Hamilton, the CEO of the Mingles franchise. It's a franchise now, and we go bring and come on soon, and we go talk about how the Sierra Leonean community they expand and how impressed I am. And the brother is quite been impressive. He just make a contribution as soon as he arrived, which means this is not something we're close to him. So corruption, I read from him, is one of our greatest enemies in Sierra Leone. It has been going on for a very long time at state levels, exactly, and this is what I want to talk about today. Sister Jacinda say cronyism has always been the downfall of the government. Exactly so. And I make her say in the then and now. I really appreciate the two contributions made by the two people who were there. I also want to say welcome to Gamai Bolu, Auntie. That's my brother's oldest daughter. Auntie, I hope you're well. Thank you for tuning in. And also Mr. Benjamin Iakai Banja, the son of an educated farmer, we just tune in. I can go on and on, but I'll focus back on what they do. So the fact here belies, the reality, which is corruption. Now the enemy, like the brother put them to we nation for decades upon decades. And whilst we have been hopeful that things go change, things not tend for the change. Instead, it's the same of the same on a different day, and at sometimes even worse. So here we are, understanding the various forms of corruptions where exist. You get bribery, you get extortion, you get cronyism. And because cronyism stands out in terms of state capture, in inverted commas, they try for define state capture as cronyism as a CM today before they come to the studio, which is appointing you paddy, or you associate them. That means group of you kind of people within a you circle, where you they put in a position of trust, in a position of authority, and then you not get proper scrutiny or look at their qualification before you they offer them a job, even though you know that job there is to drive growth, is to drive development, and the person not meet the requirement, and then still you offer them. Fambulema not even need for end usai. Thank you, Sister Lizzie Cole. We call her Sababu for decades now, and it's not helping us. Vast majority of the people find themselves in poverty. Another form of corruption, Fambulem, is nepotism. Nepotism, sometimes can be interchangeably used with cronyism, where when it comes to nepotism, the slight difference here is the practice among those who already in a power. So you see, you scale them down from cronyism, where you don't appoint you don't party them and associate them. When I don't become like a secret society, like a gang, like a cabal. How all and what they are kind of look alike or almost, like synonyms. They can be interchangeably used. So it's the practice among or influence, we can favor other relative them or party them, that means family, by giving them especially jobs, serious jobs which they are not qualified for. So we now see the connection between nepotism and cronyism. Family, I know say some of you are just joined. Brother Junior Cabo, a firm supporter of this platform. He's been with us, here for like years, and he's a strong supporter where in every shape or form, materially, financially. Brother Roland Hamilton, the same, and many other people that we're not able to name tonight. Hi, Mr. Usman Conte, welcome. Brother Iakai Banja, always they make, some very meaningful contributions, sometimes, but very meaningful. So he's saying the enterprise we now call corruption dated back since its creation in the heavens before it came down to earth. Imagine on that fateful day when Lucifer enticed a third of the angels and Michael. I could see more, Brother Yakabanja. Thank you for bringing, I want to call them a spiritual aspect, here to the conversation. But I more or less want to talk about the physical, here, because we are right here on earth. And we have to be practical. I can admonish you, have your faith, but even inside the Bible, I don't know the Bible well, and if I misquote, please correct me. I don't go venture for go too deep. But it says faith without deed is dead. In other words, deed mean action. So I can get me faith, I believe, but if I not act upon them, it is meaningless. So we are here on earth, we get for do applications. Look, some of us will find ourselves on the western side of the world. But like I say, I need for go on. Nepotism now been deeper. And I've been trying for link them up on the similarity with cronyism. So if cronyism, you don't appoint, you paddy them. Or people away then you close circle to positions of authority. You not properly look at the documentation, or you already aware, but you don't have that time. Not to that you care about. Now, how you appoint somebody, and the reason why you're doing that, as we will prove later upon this particular program, is because there is a special interest. You go here read that word day or that phraseology day, mostly now Western democracies. Special interest, because they get special interest groups. So I appoint somebody because that person is supposed to represent me special interest. So I don't need for what, because there's so much ongoing. So I appoint somebody in position of authority without properly looking at, scrutinize in qualification, put on some side where not qualify for. So we know that that particular position there, you're going to see inefficiency, and you're going to see a downturn in whatever that department is supposed to produce. Same thing comes to nepotism, which is the practice among them people and they where you don't elect, where you don't appoint. The people that you've appointed under nepotism, they get huge influence, because imagine they are running the government. And this is now important today, because as they talk about corruption in two forms, there are variances now at the name so. But we can classify them or characterize them or put them here into two components. One will be petty corruption. The other one will be grand corruption. And we go try for explain so we understand the petty corruption, how na small equally serious. But the most devastating one, the most egregious one, na the grand corruption, when are the powers that be. Because na trickle, they trickle down, if you understand. Somebody can procure a contract, here under a cutthroat basis because it's a be Mr. X, where they on top of things. And as the thing they cascade down and they come down, which is supposed to represent the people, the value of that service begin for diminish, because now so cutthroat business all along the way. So like a sister say, it's been going on for decades. Like Brother Kaibanja say, it's been going on for decades. Inside also the system of corruption, you get something we call patronage. And patronage, as I understand them, now the power we person can use for control appointments where they go in office, as I be the chief, as I be the pa, like how we can traditional call them, as I be the pa, so I don't become a go-between. Because I also wield small power, so I get the right, here to privileges, because I will lily power. Now we get for imagine this. These people are equally dangerous, and to me, they are really, really dangerous, because these are some of the people that will come to that part there again, where you see they make so much noise in social media, where they defend entities, which we find despicable, abhorrent. If we people and they profit from them, if we say we are under a democracy and the rule of or governance is not with consent of the people, not in tandem with the people, then it is no democracy at all, where few the benefit at the expense of the many. Then this is serious enough, but you always get the henchmen, you always get the attack dogs. This is an ancient thing. And then on social media, because the big boys cannot come on social media and try for can't defend such despicable acts. So for little peanuts, they can give them attacking dogs. Them peanuts then the one that way they under the table where they receive crumbs and forget say millions is being received by the others at the top, and then come then be the attack dogs on social media and begin attack others where they talk about righteousness. I know they use them in the godly sense, but in the scientific sense. Walking cleanly, remaining upright, thinking about your fellow man, the capacity of your fellow man for develop. Because you cannot rise up alone as an individual. You have to rise up, as a collective. Without the collective, it doesn't work. And this now we need for begin for understand. Because this now the politicians they can use for play up against we. Because if they provide you lily bread, Jesus no, you they forget about the many, and you go begin serve the few, because you said they get crumbs. And that is not right. And this is where state capture comes in. So you get the patronage them, or the one the way they patronize the system. So even though the system corrupt, you go here read and they defend them to the hilt. And lately we've seen many of these. It's not going right. We didn't say that all of this went right in the past. I'm not saying this in any sense. But sure enough, you can use a barometer for measure yesterday and today. And this is not me saying it, but Afro Barometer has come out with a damning report. So a survey conducted has revealed the obvious. Artists such as Emerson and few others have come out with a damning report. Because waiting critical now with society, now bread and butter. And if the bread and butter absent and the situation is just getting worse economically, then probably we need for show penitence and atonement and try for share the little, here with the many and not keep on to the very few. But ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are just joining, I just want to welcome again another brother Bobby Brown, who's been with the platform again for decades. I mean, look at me. I'm talking about corruption. Sorry for the slip of tongue. He's been with us, here for like a number of years, 3 approaching now. Brother Demir Junisa, welcome to the program. Those of you who just join, we get a tradition for multiply the number so others will become privy to this message as well. And they ask you now, please share this particular broadcast because this is important. This is not patronage. I'm not paying, some kind of service to anybody other than just talking what is obvious now with society. And it's really, really obvious. Now, make the ask Unadia Una Shebam, let other people get to know. And the topic here today, as una can see, is state capture. Waiting at state capture, the various divisions of state capture, we imply corruption. And for the benefit of una we just join, we define, state capture, and I will define it even more because this is more about defining and how we can kind of link with country into how it fits into this particular state capture. Okay, so we also get another form of corruption we then call graft. Graft now some kind of form of political corruption, because that's what we're talking about here tonight or today, wherever you are, this morning, this afternoon, where a politician can abuse, where you can read the word again, abuse of power, or phrase, abuse of power. These are just few of them. So graft is where corruption can take place by a corrupt politician, using the power given to them by the people, in some cases by appointment, but even that appointment is either based on appointment or by election, and therefore by default is a mandate from the people, and therefore you have to do the people's bidding. What are the people's bidding? I ask them in the plural sense because there are variances and in many. So under democracy, we go understand that. I mean, we get for make provisions for the people. That's why we are elected to office. So when you begin for take graft also similar to waiting they occur when money them. Family, I wonder una listing proper and let una share this because of information how they prepare here tonight. Because sometimes we already know, but we don't understand that in depth. Because now these T's and C's, what they can call on the terms and conditions, or dotting the I's and crossing the T's, where we not can understand. So there is a sort of bridge, and the bridge is not bridged. When I say bridge, I mean there's a gap and we need for bridge, but it's not bridge. And then it's other side. So there is a disconnect. Now that disconnect, the very few we think say they know pass we all can use for use we. And this cannot continue. This is the message here tonight. So under the basis of graft, which is one form of corruption, intended for public use, like public projects, where they can say for go build hospital yonder, for go build bridge yonder, for go build schools yonder. Because of that money trail we come up from up Kandong to that procurement, that man we procure the contract, Where before it come down to ram, they not slice them like sliced bread. Waiting reach them, cannot even do the project. But because there is no sincerity on the part of we officials, and I can put them straight to una the audience, the listening public, with all due respect, that they don't care for the common man, the general public, that procurement officer they go actually take that contract, they knowing that the originality of the contract is lost as the money trickle down from up, because that boss man they way they up, they don't pull you on come out. So when it come down to you, imagine yourself get for pull you, because it's a corrupt process. It is a very, very corrupt process. So they either build the school, build the hospital, or build the road. But when any of these projects are built, they are built on a substandard basis. It even becomes more dangerous to the general public. Remember, it was built for an advantage, for benefit general public. But as it goes on, it becomes dangerous, as you just see what I explained. It becomes very, very dangerous to the general public because it's of substandard. The amount of cement we for use, you know, use them. You use more sand than cement. And the physics go tell you, say, if you do that, there is a tendency for a collapse. And there's a tendency for trouble. Because the reason why I love science is because science is exact. I'm not science stream, but that's why I love science. Because it's exact. Yes, sister, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for tuning in. Science is exact. Okay? That's why I love it. So if you not do what you're supposed to do as per calculations, what is then going to happen, therefore, is there going to be a collapse. So it poses more danger. If it is a street that you were fixing or that you are fixed, because of the substandardness of the street, that street day will not last the cause for which it's supposed to last. And you really don't care, because what matters to you is not about the people. It's not about the many. It's about the cabal. It's waiting you derive from out of them, waiting go now your pocket. Family, and this is dangerous. Now, I tell Una, say, I want to focus on two parts. Brother Bangali, oh, my co-host, is on the program. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for being here. Fode Mansari, who is your guest speaker for tonight? Sorry, Brother Fode, I just see your message now. No, I don't have any guest speaker for tonight. I be intent for bring one. I had the intention of doing a monologue like I'm doing tonight. I decided for bring somebody who understand this. The person respond to me very, very late. But I've been already prepared for a monologue. So I tell and say, well, are they in the spirit of a monologue? And I want for flow and deliver the message to me people. And therefore, I have no guest for tonight. It's only me. It's a monologue. Thank you very much, Brother Fode Mansari. Brother Carl Washington, welcome to the program. Mr. Elijah Tolley, a very special friend, welcome to the program. And Mr. Ibrahim Sise, familiarity, especially this current administration in sensitive position that should be driving force towards development. Thank you very much. This is what we are driving towards. And we want carefully develop the program so people themselves see. Because now, I say earlier on, I make a try for define corruption as it is, especially on the petty scale, because I divide that into two portions. One is petty corruption, where it don't dwindle down from the alejo, then we don't eat millions and millions and millions. In some cases, depending on the level where you do, billions, and then it trickle down to the small one them, where themselves they get the crumbs because then they under the table, then fail for realize it, then can sit down at the table. But then they under the table and content with the crumbs where then they receive, and then they become the attack dogs for these people. And that's unfair to the people of the country, of any country. Because not only country no more a day all over the place. There are many countries. I do extensive research on them. I look up the corruption index. I look up various other indexes, and I come up with this. So I'm well sourced. I can assure Una. Okay. So what I mean to say again, after the two sources of corruption where I talk about, which is petty corruption, when are there small people where the money don't come down to, because at the point of services, now they the petty corruption day. You go to a police station for go lodge, you complain, probably then go tell you say paper no day. Probably then go tell you say petrol not in the vehicle. Probably then go tell you say make you wait because policemen are not available. Yeah, they're short on staff or things like that, which should not be, because you need justice. That's why you've gone to an arm which is responsible for that, for serve you justice. And that tells on the government. So if the government not responsible, this is what trickles back to them. So when the policeman takes a paper, no, they also for write the statement, for take statement from you. We know say some time ago, not sure whether it's happening now, you get for buy paper, then they expect you for buy paper. This is a form of corruption. The motorcar park and about petrol no day. You the citizen we get grievance. We go look for justice and complain. That means without telling you directly that you need for buy petrol, but you need to be served. And if you need to be served and say petrol no day, sometimes they even occur to you. It's in your subconscious, you know, and then you will get for provide money because you are grieved and you want justice. So you pay for the petrol unknowingly. That is corruption. So you see, the small corruption or petty corruption, they trickle down where you don't come out to the big one, then we don't eat billions. That crumbs where they fall down off the table. I'll give you a typical scenario. It's like where we they eat. I'm not clear how clever you are at eating. Drop a thing or two. Some lily crumbs. Some people are content with that crumbs or can manage with that crumbs. So I put them in the insect sense. So in as much as you're very clever in eating, very decent, but when you eat, lily thing must fall down. So it comes in varieties. So some people then go see a wholesome crumb, depending on who that they eat, because some people are messy, and some other people are very careful. So now lily beats na ingo drop where it hardly hard for see. But some other lily insect go see down there, and that lily insect go survive on them. This is the kind of race that we are in, Fambulem. So if you make big arts, you say, I am a principled man. I am an upright man. I want to live up to this standard. I want to stand up for my people. Of course, you die in poverty. Why? Because a system which is morally bankrupt go look at you as an idiot, and you go get people that will go insult you. Because why? You did not take that lily bribe. You did not decide to go under the table for receive that lily crumb where they for them. Because you know your worth. You know that you can be a diner on the table. So therefore you decline that. And you know at some point inside your mind, it's about your people. It's about your country. How does it stand out? How do we stop laboring here, in which we are looked at as trash, in which the president of the United States can call our countries S-hole countries? Because I hate people that know me, no say, I go hate for describe me continent, much more me country where I come from as such. So I rather use the S word, and people that know the rest. But once I agree, say, partly we are responsible for that, and they say we need for up we game for understand that. But until we come to the collective and stop taking the lily bribe yonder because now you uncle yonder, now you auntie yonder, and he feed you with that lily crumbs, way in the better, far way past you, and you content with that lily bit, then you are fundamentally, need, funny, and need some check of your brain psychiatrically. Your moral compass is bent. You do not stand a chance. Because yes, let me tell you this. You can survive on that for now. But imagine, you get conscience. We not say we don't lost boku conscience, especially after the war. And sometimes I can look at me as old school. Now I make I begin for keep me gray beard. Partly why I begin for keep me gray beard. Because until when I can talk or when I can look or how I can walk, it look like say I'm much more younger than really I am. But the problem here is I come from a time when there was moral fortitude. There was respect. There was also fear for waiting ever necessary. If it was necessary to fear, we will fear. If it was necessary for that we respect, we will respect without questioning. That's what it were. Not to the age now where we dey try for make money cost like a part of we custom. I've heard this argument and it makes me sick to the core that at some point I want to throw out. This is what we've come to, and I'm sure we can be better. I'm deeply sure we can be better. But again, Fambulen, for them one day we just the tuning. Of course, you get carried away, not away from the subject, but you get emotionally charged, and rightfully so, for deliberate or talk about a matter which is of concern to the vast majority of the people. So Fambulen, like I've been say, these are the kind of corruption. So I don't name the petty one them where they trickle down. But here is what we need for know. What we really need for know is grand corruption, which makes it grand capture or state capture. Because for let you capture the state, imagine we are talking about a state. In order for us to capture the state or for the state to be captured, you have to be the decision makers. You have to be in positions of prominence, of authority. These are the places that you need to be. Now, once you are in these places, you are able to influence things. Okay? So therefore, even though the small corruption does great destruction to the country, but when there is political leadership, when there is a resolve that this must stop or we should mitigate it, like we can see with the area most times, like governments can come and then they appoint a corruption czar, a corruption chief. Fambulem, I can convince you now that this is tokenism. And this is a sin, if I can put them in a scriptural way. But in a practical, developmental sense, in a political, socio-economic sense, this is egregious, it's unacceptable, because then they play they are playing us. So we can come, and do some of the bits, but we can still protect the others. This is why the caption here today, I want for let una understand. A, the topic is state capture. B, the subtopic, corruption redefined. Fambulen, corruption has been redefined. Don't misquote me. I know they say in any shape, sense, or form that corruption not be exist then. Corruption did. And I make these submissions to now. Was Ernest Koroma corrupt? Even though he's not been indicted, but evidence points to, yes, big YES. Was the APC government corrupt? Yes. Were people participating in the APC government corrupt? Yes. Are there cases of corruption in the past 11 years? Yes. Very many. But what we bear in mind is part of the change of government that works in a democracy, part of the engine, is when the people are not content with the direction that they are being taken, they forge or they urge or they call or cry for a new direction. Hence the mantra, the slogan by the SLPP stroke power, new direction, I believe resonated well with the people. Because despite protest, despite disappointments and denials about the winning of the elections, we've got the reality about those that are in power now. It is the SLPP stroke power. They came to power on the back of campaigning about a new direction. If we should go by that slogan and by the elections result, which gave them power, then we equally have to accept that the slogan resonated with the broad masses. Did you hear me, Fambulem? The broad masses of the Sierra Leonean people, that we want a new direction. That other direction there for 11 years, yes, we don't get enough of them. So therefore, we want to move in an opposite direction. We're not satisfied with them. We don't done with them. Hence, the opportunity was given to another. But here we are, almost 3 years on. And I will come to that, I think, at sort of the rush am, but just the develop them again so that we go understand where we are. Okay? And the focus now, as at this point of this conversation, is on grand corruption. Fambulem, awale we know say grand corruption can occur or it occur at the highest levels of government. Fambulem na hear me? Awale we understand say corruption they occur at the highest levels of government. And for it occur at the highest level of government, it gets a damning and egregious a human rights abuse sort of feel on the state. Now you're going to be thinking, waiting, or what do I mean? So if you get grand corruption now the very, very top of the society, remember USA just come out just now when I talk about grand corruption at the top of the society. Corruption they occur at every level, but you get lower levels. I just describe them. They want them way, then get contract, they trickle can down to them. And when it trickle can down to them, then self make their own cut. When they make their own cut, everything else becomes substandard. But if there was a political resolve, if there was a political will, Fambulem, if there was a feeling and empathy, sympathy for the people, if democracy was truly to be interpreted, not in its natural sense, in fact, because that would be just too much for us. So we ask a little bit for the people. Forget about buy. Maybe we can take with. In other words, we try to say we can do away with one, and then we don't help the people. But because there's no political will, there's no political leadership, there is no sympathy and empathy, because it's only about self. Therefore, we continue to live in this dire strait where we deepen with people them. And let we bear in mind, not only with people them might somehow be in a more physical stress than we are. And I even doubt that statement when myself make. Because then we can be complex about the statement I make by saying there is a possibility that we are even more stressed than with people, because then they home. Did you hear me, Fambulem? Then they home and we they are the toil day and night. And this also they go to with Salon people. Day and night with the toil. We know some people where we can go on holidays. The way out and see we not know some man don't go wash their man, he don't collect him money, some man don't sweep streets, don't go, clean up other people and mess and the rest of it. You develop your money, you get little change. And then you go down and then you are on top of the game. And why you there on top of the game? Because there is so much poverty down there. And then you begin admire the other person who say come out. And then you begin look who's that person they come out. If that person they can come and do so, he bills, he buy car, he ride car, he buy cold drink, he go to a restaurant, he spend. But then I need for going to that place, they miss self. Not understanding the psychology of waiting they happen there. That are suffering on a different level. And yes, it is true that we work, and when we work here, so you get paid. But that level of work, the way we do for others, I mean, family, you want to say we can't do it for ourselves? Young, healthy muscle, the continent with the most healthy muscle, the youngest, sort of people ever, when any other continent need for develop. What are our leaders doing? I mean, I will leave that for another day conversation. But these are just facts. So I've been say, for let we understand the level of subversion, because I say in grand corruption, one of the biggest alleged of all corruption, because corruption the policeman team up na treat, it take post office man they and insef take, Lunge airport you pay, they bring you fish cam, you for pay even though you get receipt, you go for the receipt, I then call the house China house, now China house you building, you get for pay small thing, they all that thing, and those are all forms of corruption. But now because they up not it. Now because they up not it. So the up can come and make, some ceremony as if they are going to be straight, but they never be straight. Because one, from the initiation process, in other words, the initial process, politics has become an entry point for who say you want to go make money. Who say you want to go make money. So it's no longer about the people. For a long, long time, it has never been about the people. We don't come up from that moral fortitude. The vicissitude of people in the stand up, in a biblical sense, for the people. Politicians, MPs, you see the entire format don't change. You see the nastiness in social media, wishing death on somebody. where even it don't make sense, because even when you wish on death, there are another person of that same, depending on what you wish on death for, because some people wish death for different reasons. But in the broader context of things, the way I wish on death, now because you want to assume something else and not knowing for say in a common sense way, not to you. So that alleged way they up there, the corruption way they perform is the equivalent to subversion. Remember, I say subversion. Now, a big word we get multiple meaning, and every one of them meaning them, they are very strong. Very strong. Strong in the sense, whether or not overthrow you want to talk about, it can call about subversion, but generally subversion means for turnover. So waiting they pertap go under, depending in the context again in which they use them. So in this context, equivalent to subversion. So the subversion, like I say, contextually, now how you they undermine the power and the authority of a system we already established or an established institution. Bear in mind when they talk about corruption, when they talk about institutions, and when they talk about the guiders of their institutions there, the moral guarantors of their institution there, we take an oath of office for their institution there, for preserve them as they're supposed to be, develop them as it will benefit we people and subsequently the country, or vis-a-vis the country and the people. So when you subvert this authority in an established system, remember say it affects both the political, the legal, and the economic systems of the state. This is exactly what it make them so deadly fumble. Imagine what I tell you from the top. And remember, say the small one where I talk about petty corruption, they trickle down to the lily one them. But if the alleged them with they on the top were very serious for stamp out corruption, at least mitigate and put a percentage to them. Not just lip service. Put a percentage to and say, we must get rid of 85% because for do away with them is really hard. But some aspect of it can be done away with. But because the core principles of the guiders of this with democracy, they themselves are very corrupt. Hence why I call on corruption redefined, because they've taken a different approach. That's what they've taken. So like I say, contrast, then there was corruption. Of course, corruption on a massive scale. I can read reports. I've got reports and I will come to that. But then we ask, this is a fundamental and profound question to the entire 7.5 plus more million people. Whether you for or against, whether you belong to this platform or not, whether you're a friend or foe, frenemy. Yeah? Is SLPP the solution to the current crisis, to the problem? I go submit to una say the answer is no. It's the current head of state who's gone missing for quite a while, and imagine all of these is part of the problem, not part of the solution. Is he a solution to the problem? The answer I go submit back to una again, say no. And this is not with malice, because I know the cyber brigade are going to come back at me, but we understand them. As a vast majority of people are beginning to understand just what the facts are. Simply because you are receiving crumbs underneath the table, you are willing to sacrifice the many just for the few. Where's your moral conscience? Where is it? So Fambulem, this is where we are. That big man where they up there with corrupt practices, they undermine the authority of an established institution. Remember, say, after the war, we had talked about earlier, we institution and crumbled. And before the war, this is important, under the Joseph Momo government, that was a failed country. I hear people like use the word failed state. But, I mean, the definition is clear. We can twist and turn them, but there are elements of it which is clear to us. And under the Joseph Momo state, one party state, it was not a democracy. It was a failed state because economically the country was bankrupt. Highly corrupt, lost all forms of respect. But may his soul rest in peace. I can say that clearly, because he was a man with humility. He was a man who had the people at heart, or at some point, he actually tried for show that. Do you know that all of the presidents and prime ministers that we've really had, this is now one of the only man we come out we actually apologize to the people publicly. He actually say, and which is hard to find. And probably then you could find such people, but now it's even getting stronger. And some people, we know them, because of their ego, instead of them say sorry, they will rather take the entire country down with them. The record is there to speak for itself. Joseph Momo actually came and said, sorry to the nation, I have failed you. How many of us have done that? On that kind of platform, that kind of level. And I say again, may his soul rest in peace. So we know it was a failed state. So out of that failed state came a war. Out of that war, thousands of we compatriots then die. So that sacrifice made should have been the sacrifice where we for don't make gains from, for take we country forward. Did we do that? The answer is simply no. We see the bickering, the political jokering, the backstabbing, the skullduggery, and all the nastiness that is taking place in politics today, because those that are there are corrupt. Those that want to come there could possibly be even more corrupt than them. Where are we? Somewhere in the middle with the people. How do we find a people's movement is the question that will restore dignity and pride to the nation. So some of the things that we they suffer now, we don't have to suffer it here. We can rather go suffer at home with dignity and respect. When shall we decide for hold we leaders them accountable and be strong enough? Because the voices of the many, like I say, these things cannot be done individually. You can be successful individually, but it's difficult for let it change a society, a community, or just that you lead to community in the first place. How can you impact on them positively? Yes, you've done something, but how do you influence them? Do you just leave it at that, say, okay, then see me, I'm a bright example and I'm a shining example, so therefore probably they go follow my way? No, the work is not done. Because you therefore provide the shoulder for somebody else to step there and move up front. You get for be a kind of a creator. You probably get for hold seminars and workshops. Because it's the duty of us. I always say this, and this is one of my favorite quotation from a man that I adored and admired, Stokely Carmichael. We change your name to Kwame Ture. These are people that fought the early struggles, and these were struggles that are followed. You couldn't say, that they succeeded from some artificial perspective, because there were many odds against them. Even their own people were playing up, against them. But the odds was there and the necessity was there. So this legal and economic system, the way we get replaced, because of subversion by key government officials, the one that were there in authority and power, then they undermine that particular power there, and when they undermine them, nothing at all, then they go straight forward. And then the country began for descend into chaos. Does that sound like something where it happen now? Does that sound like something where happen then? We actually need for look at these things. We actually need for understand them. And to una way things say una can come after people and when they talk nothing but the truth, which is backed by evidence, and una day in the few, and una think say the Sierra Leonean people are not looking, you are in for a surprise because they're watching. As you stifle free speech from within, the voice from without becomes louder because people have to talk. You cannot say people must talk, and I will quote the president towards the end of this program, and yet they provide that atmosphere there for people and for hold that conducive platform where they can exchange their ideas and the way they want to exchange, simply because you don't like that. You cannot do that because people then go out for protest and then you open live bullets on them. And some people, the same people I talk about that support, by having crumbs from under the table, try for make sense out of something will not make sense at all. That the police never had rights to shoot unarmed people. That should have been period to it, and the president should have commissioned a commission of inquiry for look into the unlawful killing of his citizens. That would have been the first thing for you to do, and there have been one too many. That sometimes you just late for let you respond. I wonder where you are. You kind of slow, Mr. President. You kind of slow to your responses. The police You know, I kind of feel for the police somehow, because part of me tradition lies with the police and I understand them. And sometimes I want to think, because I like thinking outside of the box. Has the police been compromised? Are there units operating within the police which is supposed to be professional? Again, we come up from that position where we find ourselves then, after the war, where people spend millions and millions for develop the police, because the police is such a powerful institution and is meant as a force for good. But how does that interpret, you know, their actions there where we see interpret as a force for good? When innocent citizens, unarmed citizens are being gunned down in the street as dogs, just like dogs. Even dogs, you know, deserve better. And yet we see that the propaganda is going on different levels. We don't even know usa again for end, in the sense that now we begin to, I don't even want to give credence to such story that the people get gone and then turn up at themselves. Seriously? Really? Seriously and really? But that's a conversation for another day. Family, when I was just a tune in, we talk about state capture. We're talking about state capture tonight. We talk about the redefining of corruption, how corruption was then, how corruption is now, but the level that is taken is completely looking like a different direction. But of course, we were promised a different direction, and the direction was meant to be a positive direction. But if that's the direction that we are going, then definitely that is not a positive direction. That is not a direction that resonates with the broad basis of the Sierra Leonean people, and it is just simply wrong. And something needs to be done, because there needs to be an about face, because we are heading towards a cliff, and the Sierra Leonean people should not be taken down together with others on that cliff, because they don't deserve that. Simple. Simple as that. Okay? So family, as I've been, they say, the big one them, then they subvert the state, the institutions them. We're supposed to act as guides, as principles, as pillars on how the state for go before, because they are laid down principles that you're supposed to come and follow, put people away qualified so that they go able to take this thing forward. Not on cronyism, not on nepotism, because those two elements can only take down a government. They can only bring down a government, because a government is not functioning as how it's supposed to function. Because the people where you put it, they don't understand what is meant to be done. You just put them there, you know, as yes men and women that reports to you. While they think they go down, and remember saying a state institution, it takes a while for go down, and by the time you realize, the damage is done. The damage is done. So again, I'll tell you, I say Lily research was done here. Let me understand this Lily thing where I've been talk about how this thinking affects the legal and economic systems of the state. And this is what makes it really deadly. And this is exactly why we are where we are. I said the small one equally strong and destructive, but imagine usa in the commodity pipe, the water, usa the water they come out. If now somebody they control them, then sure enough you can control usa that water they for go. And that's what's been done. The water they been controlled from up there using the faucet for let it go usa is supposed to go. Now then they control and usa the one for let it go, which means that they can control them. Only difference is that they control and usa the one for let it go for basically corrupt reasons. Now, for understand this family, let we define grand corruption again, because we want for to use the records. We want for to use citations, so people can refer to that. So we are not making these things up. So according to Transparency International, this now the abuse of power, of course, is almost the same but different kind of here and there's, because it's the abuse of power by the few at the expense of the many. So these people away they in the few, they're so powerful that they're able to change the game. For change the game means they're able to change laws. One or laws, they're able to change them. Does this sound like some country? Because we will name countries, and they talk about this program here tonight within the context of Sierra Leone. And Fambulem, we really need for share this video. People really need for be conscientized. Don't be selfish. Have some conscience today. You might be a benefactor to the system, but you are only an individual, and probably few of your relatives in a nation of 7.5 million people, if not more, or a little bit less. But according to the census, 7.5 million and counting. So you can do justice and you can get some conscience, because it seems like conscience is missing in the country. You can get some conscience by playing or doing some role which is conscionable, which is empathizing, sympathizing with your people, not backing the few. So these powerful people, and they're able for change laws, economic regulations within the country. And the way how they can do on something, they can do on, like say, now for can benefit the people them. But not to so fumble them. And studies upon studies don't reveal this. That when they can't change them, now in their own behalf. And like I talk about tokenism, this is largely what they do. Fumble them, grand corruption. Where they allege you, then they perform up yonder. Now in the international community call or refer to as an abuse of human rights. If you know you care, you value human rights, you should not be a participant of grand corruption. You should be an agent of change for the sake of your people. Look, we within our way can go holiday. Sometimes it can draw some of us to tears. We become emotional. You see one Pekin, we fit for be your daughter or your son, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, and God knows what happens next. For goodness sake. Get 6 banana in head. Almost 6 banana cost. But just translate that for reflect on down to the country outside a day. Where 6 banana don't mean anything, almost it really cost. How we go benefit. But that's the life that they live. That small thing they now get for turn around, for maybe put one pot in a fire. When are there for eat, for survive that day. And the next day, she's back on the street and not they go school for go educate himself because the mama can't afford that. And then say they bring with free education. And we get for ask the question, what's the direction of the free education? Why are we not being informed how far the free education they go and whose ID? So fambulem anyway, those of you just joining again, we talk about grand corruption. We know the title here, and the subtitle is Corruption Redefined. So grand corruption violates human rights. Public money then we meant for the building of schools, hospitals, streets, roads, prisons. So we people them, even though they've committed crime or they will be remanded, at least go have some dignity. They're not condemned. But because of corruption, everything is topsy-turvy, upside down. Everything. So I talk about an alley. That money will then give the contractor for the street. Because USA Ecomot, the originally allocated money for the project has been slashed. So by the time it comes down to the other contractor, it's slashed. By the time it comes down to the subcontractor, it's slashed. By the time a project in itself comes into being, substandard and never unfinished. Hence why you see so many unfinished products or projects or substandard projects. This is exactly what it is. And these are aided by corrupt state actors, and we need for begin name and shame them and act in accordance with the principles of, we being conscious rather. Because it's the duty of those of us who are conscious to educate, to enlighten, which we basically responsible for Nayana this platform. The unconscionable, the unconscious. Part of state capture, it comes in multiple forms in terms of grand corruption. You can find state officials then and they intervene. Because sometimes you can get some principle and we want to stand up straight. Whether not the Bar Association as a lawyer, like we see Madam Basita Michael, whether within the police force, unlike the police director now, the IG now, we shamefully pledging allegiance to the president, not to the state and the people from where the power derive, but publicly the man pledging allegiance to the man we give the job. What would you expect to come? So part of state capture is we see they cover up multiple forms of grand capture in which intervention, which is deemed as illegitimate, happens by state officials when they plunder state assets and finances through intervention and the procurement of contracts, which I've talked about all night. How you they secure them contract they are. Okay, Fambulem. We know say there is being the new direction come for Fed corruption, and with a very good name, new direction, what I talked about earlier on. But we've seen a numerical rise in the debt, in public debt. This is not me making this up, it's on the record, a numerical rise. Government, they create ministry then for winning and not get money. They create parastatal then for winning and not get money. They create embassy then for winning and not get money. Agencies for winning and not get money. And money has to come from somewhere to run them places then they. Unfortunately, you don't have the money, so it becomes a problem. Issues of rice. We see rice disappear. Bags and bags and bags of rice donated by the Chinese government. That in itself is corruption. And that goes to the corruption czar, and we know how we investigate them. And up to this day, there are questions about them. When the rest would be meant for the president in flag bearership program, in flag ship program, what the rest? It end up in a government official in hand. The case end up with one or two government ministers, you're being brought before the anti-corruption czar, Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala, in whom I had so much high hopes. Send messages to him a couple of times. I need paper, sir, in the work in which you do, because we can elect for verify. Promise me many times, never turn up. I try to guess why, because people must have reached him. But of which benefit does that serve? For provide me documents that way available for the work where you do as a journalist and a political activist, where they move and shake social media for talk to the salon people and based on the work where you do without bias. So this shocked me. Never forthcoming. But anyway, then bring them people that can take the rest. Make here, and where we go look, reinstatement. And many times this don't happen. And I'll name a few. The Secretary of State North, the Minister of State North, Abu, can make an egregious, unacceptable by every standard of the word or the sentence where you use or the statement where you make to the people of Sierra Leone, publicly on tape. Yes, the president did the right thing by suspending him because this thing been so serious, but then he reinstated him. Is there no one else to serve you, Mr. President, from the North? Are you short of people from the North to serve you? Again, the public school bus system. How is it? How are we not getting all this information on how the president in flagship program ongoing? The public school system bus in which there was so much fanfare around. How is it faring? How many of them there on the road? How is it going? We're interested in knowing. The Auditor General in report. We 30 days will not able to get understanding as to what happened. A woman where they do a very good job. 30 days will not able to understand what they go on with the things then where you find out. We they talk about the Auditor General in report. Lack of action, lack of consequences, discipline against people. The inadequacies, the inefficiencies. But of course, all that boils down to the way our people and they take things. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll end this program in 5 minutes. Up to this point, the integrity of a man that I had great respect for. Still get respect for him because there's a point in time that he can turn this thing around. And then Mr. Ben and Francis Kaifala. I can understand the pressures where they're in. I play in quotations many a time from the very beginning where they appoint them, and I still get quotations and they will keep in my diary. That he not go hesitate in the pursuit of corruption wherever he take them, regardless of who they employ him. If not that direction they take him, he will go towards that direction. Does that remain true today? And many others. So the Chinese guys look under. The finance boss, Mr. J.J. Safanya, in financial secretary, Mr. Matthew Dingy. We know what happened. The chief minister, Professor Francis, we know what happened. 1.5 million bribery case. A calling party where happened for the anti-corruption boss. And we know how the case go. It's on public record. And this is what goes back to nepotism and cronyism, because you protect the guard. Who are those controlling the guard? We see a list we come away now, Oba. Oba now an organization, people that we go school together, we belong to one organization together, running an entire country. So just imagine the consequence. It's as simple as ABC. So yes, now that happened to Professor Francis. And a journalist broke the story, and we know what thing happened. But there's so much denial now. It's funny how all along they do these denials. So if this was true, by the way, why Professor Francis not bring a smear charge against, as powerful as he is, against journalist Saliu Jallo? Why not? Why not? Because it was true. Then do the initial thing of threatening, because now then they run the state, which was so wrong, send people and go arrest them, and later on camouflage and cover everything. But every dog has its own day. The issue of land grabbing, it don't become so prevalent, so dominant at the place, taking land away from people, and people are taking up the mantle. They're standing up to it because this is wrong, and they understand the legislation. There are no more crown lands have been made to understand as alone. People that own the land from certain period of time to this time own their lands, but the lands have been taken under frivolous circumstances, and one name where they trend so much is the Minister of Lands and Mines. This is unforgivable. This is unbelievable. And it's been going on for such a while that you don't know why action is not being taken. That the citizenry continue for complaint, and we hear say even outside and lady dead for rest is being taken advantage of. There are so many cases in court now, and people are taking actions. We hear say they go to the ministry the other day, then go vandalize the place. We not call for vandalism, but this is what happens. If not to be the same people in there, and that cause they, it would have been the other way where they would have said is the opposition is always ascribed to the opposition. But you forget to know about the social pressures which are indicative of the reaction of these people. It's really unfortunate. Why protect state sacred cows? So if you get the rule of Oba, that's state capture. Protecting sacred cows. Trust the process. How can people trust the process? Ballots were trampled upon, constituency 110. Till today, that has not been addressed. The people of constituency 110, they remain without a parliamentary representative. In a democracy, that's a will which is unhinged from a body, an entire body. A will is unhinged, which means that it's not functioning well. It's not going to function well. And this has been the case for over a year and counting. Seem like there's no redress, and one has to ask, why isn't there a redress to that particular issue up until this day? What is going on? What is going on? There's no fiscal discipline. Yeah, it is true the revenue grew by 40% plus, 43% I believe, due to one good attribute, the single treasury account. Single treasury account. Revenue grew. But what happened eventually? Expenditure day on the rise, debt day on the rise. So that expenditure day on the rise and debt on the rise, it make the growing of revenue irrelevant. Very, very irrelevant. Very irrelevant. So you can't really even talk about it. Listen, Fambulem, if government is serious about ending corruption, the need for do the right thing. The need for put people in office we go able for do the job. Not all people that we go able for do their own job in the way how they want time. Corruption redefined, because corruption is on the high now, it's on the rise. 140 billion in 2 years. Big hole inside the Auditor General's report. Up to this day as I speak, Fambulem, that has not been accounted for. No one is penalized. People are taken off. Same people are brought back. Tokenism, cronyism, nepotism is all on the rise. The promise for block leakages. In fact, the holes are getting wider, and the leakages, the holes are multiplying. Not only multiplying, but are getting wider. Corruption is on the rise. Corruption definitely is on the rise. We can talk about deterrence. How can we deter this? I hope this will be a conversation for another day, because I need for bring this camp to an end. But we know say we get tools them to our advantage now. But I will make this a subject of another day in terms of deterrence towards grand corruption and state capture. which will be on the deterrent structure and the role where civil society get for play. Civil society get a very critical, a very significant role for play in ending corruption. And the fact that we get tools to we advantage now, such as media, for example, such as social media, which I'm using. And by the way, I'm so proud to wear my Google t-shirt before other people and begin interpreting otherwise. This is just a dedication to Google because we appreciate technology as it is today. So I dedicate this to Google. Second, but the show is dedicated to the people of Sierra Leone, first and foremost, who are going through very, very difficult times. When a country such as we country don't experience that kind of thing that I just talk about, it's not easy for them we roll back things, by the way. It's really not easy for them we roll back things. Yeah? But corruption has to be handled if we're sincere. There should be no sacred cows. There should be, I say, no sacred cows. Obviously. And like I say, we will talk about this again on another day regarding deterrence, regarding civil society, the role we didn't get for play. But this is so heavy that I just need for just run through quickly. The irregularity them are on the rise, and there are so many. Payment of salaries. So people the way you owe, they don't become very irregular, and not only on a monthly basis, but multiple monthly basis. In other words, people are not being paid for a number of months, so that has become irregular, and this is not going down well. Travel allowance. We see the president still fly wherever they happen to ram. Of course, we've got the Maconia put and down at the page the other day. I obviously say I wish I'm well. I mean, some people, by asking about the state of your president, which is your responsibility, a civic responsibility, again, the people are under the table where they eat crumbs. We're supposed to come at the dining table and let's have a conversation on taking the country to another level. Are content, with attacking, being an attack dog, simply because you asked for the president. Or say if the president is ill, I wish him well. The president has got a right, to go on routine medical checkups. Why that wasn't used, I don't know. But that supposedly should have been used. But then the president go after a week, then double until 2 weeks. Come on, this does not happen. This is an unnormal state. This is not. You don't leave your people. You don't create a vacuum. You don't create insecurity. This is exactly what's happening. Okay, right now, there is so much inefficiency. I can name them for sure, because if it's not been managed well and social media has gone, over the top, it's because of you. You are absolutely responsible for that. I'm talking about the president's team, State House, Keketoma, and others. You are absolutely responsible. Airport closed the other day, come up with statement and say, no, this is not old thing will be happen. You can't even make a coherent statement for explain to people, it's the social distancing and what have you. Are you serious? The same people in the work day, the place is leaking like a sieve. Are you really serious? People then go dance na bottom mango, not even understand, because why? Somebody from within go instigate and say let them go dance for make like say the people and they can't understand, then they can't understand say the president na diversion, because again back now the lead role where they talk about how they can use certain people. We see another video come out again where we they talk them, they accuse one side of paying for t-shirts and what have you, but now we see physical evidence in which video come out saying now the other side now irresponsible for paying for t-shirts and what have you, where then they encourage other people and for wearing. So that is unacceptable. The proofs are coming out, and we can't continue for hide under them things there anymore. Not anymore. Yeah, but Adelwin, the reason behind today, I decided for come out with something looking a little bit spectacular, I believe, which is unlike me. But it looks suitable, with the black and the red. And the glasses, obviously, say I just do an eye up. And the eye, they heal up well because I'm seeing with it. But it's if you can understand. So that is what the eye, thing is there about. So like I've been saying, these are the things, that are happening. You feel, you're being accounted for. Look at the shameful thing. Now, you say things not serious. Then go do an impress. Minister of Finance. Remember, say the president, they sit on cabinet meeting, and that cabinet meeting, and they discuss the finance strategy, the finance budget where the minister get for go table in parliament. Then they still put impress inside it and can go. It sounds like old thing, but remember, say we are recapping for 2.5 years of something we're beginning to look like a mess. This is a mess. We begin for call them a mess because nothing looks coherent. That even the head is missing. The head is missing as we speak. And people are asking, where is he? I've decided not to go this way this time because over 1 year ago, I was at the forefront, the vanguard of asking, where is he? And I was asking these questions genuinely. I understood some of the movement, but I mean, they kept lying to us, and people like me was aware, you know, and I saw this, he has been disingenuous. How can you do that to 7.5 million and you are the head of state? Are you taking us for a joke? Is the team taking us for a joke? If the president is not well, of course, it doesn't need to be made very, very public. Routine medical check. And on that basis, if you are told us that it's gone for medical check, then probably an extension would not have been too bad. But I'm not sure whether you're fearing the rumors that will go on to say, oh, I mean, the president, now the team will be the talk, say, he's sick. But there's many more to go by, Fambulem. I want to thank Una very much on this note. I don't reach the 1 hour 30 minutes mark. And so dear Una, bear with me. But next week, I think Super Medgar Comrade Keita coming back, and the interview was quite telling. That gave us an insight, a bird's eye view, an overview into the internal functioning of some of the things which we never knew of or been a second guess. That was a brilliant one. But family, I thank Una very much. Una Lord, we please share this video, this broadcast. Very, very important. I hope this will uplift some of us. We just need to ask questions. I always say it's a civic responsibility. Thank you very much. Good night, good morning, good afternoon as I leave Una again with the sound of Jimmy Cliff.